So
Mm.
I've been a working mom, married and divorced and remarried and single, all different ways. And it's not easy. So I really have like this empathetic, compassionate connection to women because I had to sort of build my own tribe from the ground up. Didn't know what the heck I was doing.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our mission is to help you live your best audacious life ever. It's always a pleasure to be here, sharing insights and experiences with you. And I want to take a moment to express my appreciation for you spending part of your day with us. Your time is valuable, and I hope that through our conversation, you find inspiration, empowerment, and practical tools to enhance your personal journey. Now, life can be likened to a winding road trip. It's not about reaching a final destination, but rather about enjoying the ride and the experiences along the way. Just as a road trip requires us to navigate curves, detours, and unexpected stops, our journey through life demands that we seek balance, not as a static goal, but as an evolving experience. Along the way, we'll encounter bumps that will remind us that mistakes are not failures. Instead, they are opportunities for growth and learning. As we cultivate gratitude and self-acknowledgement, we nurture our emotional well-being, allowing us to weather life's storms with grace. In our parenting journey, we must embrace flexibility, recognizing that each child is unique and deserves individual attention. Today's guest embodies these principles beautifully and shares her insights on this very same topic. Joining us is Arlene Cohen Miller, a dedicated work-life balance and harmony coach for women. With a background as an attorney, Arlene brings a wealth of experience and empathy to her coaching practice. Her journey as a working mom, navigating the complexities of parenting and her professional life while building a supportive community from scratch, has equipped her with invaluable insights that are not only relatable, but transformative. Arlene's expertise in work-life balance directly aligns with our discussion today on the importance of recognizing that balance is a continuous journey. Her experiences and lessons that she has learned from her own parenting journey resonate deeply with the challenges that many of us face, making her insights all the more relevant and impactful. So without any further ado, let's turn to our conversation with Arlene. Enjoy. Hey, Arlene, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you making the time to do this. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you inviting me as well.
For me, the opportunity to engage in these types of dialogues, I think it's so valuable. It's really a blessing to be able to have these kind of conversations. And if you really think about it, we have the opportunity. Someone has the opportunity to, eavesdrop into our conversation today and take something from what we've talked about that they can impact their lives in a profound way. To me, it's just a beautiful opportunity to be a part of. And thank you. So thank you for helping me fulfill my mission. This is great.
My pleasure.
Now, on this podcast, we spend a lot of time talking about, living this best audacious life, and really, when you look at it, that life that we're talking about, it's very individualized. We're on our own path, our own course. While there might be some similarities to what others experience or going through, it's still our own personal journey. The other part of that journey is that we have to own is sometimes there'll be some pitfalls and sometimes there'll be some smooth sailing, right? All of that is part of that journey that we go through, and it's so important that we not steer clear of that, because I truly believe that, on the other side of these challenges, these pitfalls, these obstacles, is kind of where the greatness lies, right? And that's where it sort of makes the journey worth it at the end, right? But we still have to continue to persevere and push through, and maybe express some appreciation, gratitude for the things that we're going through, because it gives us the opportunity to grow. There's so many different ways that we can take this, as long as, but we have to own it nonetheless. I go back to that. It's our own individual journey. You help people as a coach sort of balance that all in their own lives, and maybe help them understand the purpose, or understand the direction that they're going in, and how they find that harmonious happy place that we're all striving for. And so maybe as a starting point, Arlene, I can get you to sort of talk about the work that you do and how you help individuals get to that place. And I remember that place because I mean it's that thing, right? It's out there that we're all going after, right? But but we have to go after it nonetheless. So maybe I'll slide over and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and let our audience know, the work that you do and what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Yeah, well, I don't think we ever really get there. I think life's a journey. The
Okay.
primary thing I do a lot of things, but one of the things I do is a work-life balance and harmony coach for women.
Mhm.
I love this area. I started off as an attorney. I moved up after law school to Cleveland, Ohio. I opened my own law firm when I was 29, found out I was pregnant. My whole family was in Kentucky. I really didn't have a support group. So
Mm.
I've been a working mom, married and divorced and remarried and single, all different ways. And it's not easy. So I really have like this empathetic, compassionate connection to women because I had to sort of build my own tribe from the ground up. Didn't know what the heck I was doing. And my husband at the time was in a big training program and he was like working 70 hours a week. It was crazy. So I sort of learned it on my own, and I really appreciate giving back to women as a coach and as a mentor. And I really feel that it's not like we're going to get there. I don't think we ever get there. It's always
Okay.
a journey because sometimes if you are seeking balance and harmony in your life, you get to some place, you have a little bit of an ah moment, and then something else happens, and you have to adjust and adapt and be flexible all over again. So I mean, that's a little bit of what I do. There's more if you want to hear it, but I just wanted to sort of give that little kind of blurb introduction.
No, and I do appreciate your point around it being a journey, and we're always going towards something, right? Like I think of like going to the gym and working out, right? You don't go to the gym, you're working out, and say, "Great, I'm fully worked out, I've arrived." Right? It's an ongoing. You don't just go the one time and there, or even just two times. It's an ongoing process, and you can
Right.
always build and build upon and get better and more refined and more chiseled in your physique and all those sorts of things. So it is an ongoing process that never ends. And I think once you sort of wrap your mind around that piece, I think it's easier for you to accept the things that are happening in our lives because sometimes the things that happen aren't always good, right? So, but to
Yeah.
know that this is part of the process and can continue going, I think it's a really, really important point. So, thank you for making that.
Yeah, and when you talk about that, what comes in is two things. One is that we're all going to make mistakes, like you're saying,
Mhm.
and lots of times we're taught to beat ourselves up for those mistakes, but they're actually just an opportunity to grow. We can, if we learn from those mistakes, we go, well, that didn't work so well. Even if we're in the gym and we hurt our shoulder because we were lifting too much weight and we want to be macho. This is not me. I'm maybe thinking of you. Um, we just I'm just teasing. We need to go, well, I need to go with lighter weights next time, or
Right.
I'm more into the yoga and the hiking and stuff like that. But that move didn't work. This is tweaking something, and we have to adjust and adapt. But we can go, well, how can I do that differently best time next time versus like the whip? Oh, bad person, what did you do? You stupid idiot. That doesn't help.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
other thing is that practice makes permanent. You brought like weight training or athletics into it. I did a lot of running in my youth, and I one of the examples I give is like, I ran half marathons. I was the runner in like triathlons and stuff like that. I did 10Ks. Well, I can't just walk around the block and go do it. I have to practice, practice, practice. And the same thing is true if we want that more balance and more harmony in our life. It's just not going to be handed to us on a
Mhm.
silver platter. That would be great. And there's no
Mhm.
magic fairy dust. We actually have to, give it our time, our attention, and our heart energy as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. There is no fairy dust.
No.
There's some work, some very intentional work that has to happen.
Yeah.
When we talking about work-life balance, um, first off, is there a definition of what we would have work-life balance? Is there a definition that we use to capture, if you will?
Oh, well, I don't know if I can give a definition. I can give more of a feeling guide for it. So,
Sure.
we have really busy lives, and it feels really different than when my mother, her parents were pretty poor. She felt like she had really made it by being able to be a stay-at-home mom. And a lot of people don't have that choice anymore. Both parents or both team members need to work so you can have a place to live, because living costs are going up and food costs are going up. It's very expensive. So our goal is to really, find ways that, what are our priorities in life? What is really important? How can we bring self-care and self-love into that process so that we can continue to give to ourselves and give to others and, actually enjoy our experience of life? And, where are we engaging in activities that really are taking up a lot of our time, but really aren't a part of, who we want to be and are kind of dragging us down. It could be like scrolling on social media for 45 minutes a day. I mean, there's
Right.
all sorts of things. It's like a getting to know ourselves experience about what would be my ideal and how can I begin to step towards that more clearly, more intentionally, and more from a feeling space, not trying to make to-do lists in our head about it should be this and this and this. That doesn't work in our lives. So that's a kind of a it's not really a definition, but
Right.
that's how
No.
I would begin to talk about the work-life balance.
And I think no, and I ask because I think it's important. So thank you for doing that because it sort of gives almost like a roadmap where we're going. So if the final destination is work-life balance, well, what does that path to get there? What does that look like? Or in this case, what does it feel like? I think it's important for you to have that image, if you will.
I think it feels differently for everybody. And one of the things I do as a coach is, I'm not telling people what to do. I know they have the answers inside of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, I partner with them. I walk alongside them. I ask them empowering questions. If I have a insight or an intuition, I'll share it to them and I'll hand it back to them. But everyone has their idea based upon what would be better work-life balance for them. And so I feel it's kind of, I don't know, kind of snobbish to think that I should impose what my work-life
Right.
balance is on anybody else. And so
Right.
I feel like my job as a coach is to hold this really huge judgment-free space for the people I work with. That is, I call it like unconditional positive regard. So whatever you want to say,
Hmm.
I'm going to be there walking alongside of you. And then you begin to share with me what's not working, where you'd like to be, what's kind of working, and we sort of like play with it in a way so we can begin to step forward. So like you said, nobody is exactly the same. We all have our own unique journey.
Right, right, right. No, and I think setting the space, the table and having a space again, the non-judgment feel it's huge. That's a huge one because in fact, I think one of the things that probably holds people back the most is that fear of judgment, right? They're fear of, oh my
Right.
gosh, like they're going to think this about me, or how I'm going to view this way, or whatever. But if you can establish that right off the bat, I think that helps set the table nicely for some positive things to occur, which is so important. Um, I'm so curious what the connection of you as an attorney law background to the work that you do now, and is there a direct connection, or does it aid in
It,
some way, or
Oh, it was a little bit of a circuitous journey. I never, like about 3 years before, I've had two businesses. One as a solo practitioner in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio,
Mhm.
and one as a partner in a small boutique law firm in Longmont, Colorado, which is kind of a suburb of Denver. And like the last 3 or 4 years, I felt like I had some friends that started some really interesting schools. One was for diploma in coaching and mentoring because she felt that it was the one that she graduated from, it was too heady. And she wanted to bring more heart, more that non-judgment, that more of unconditional positive regard energy into coaching. And so she wanted me to be like in her first intake, but I will acknowledge that I was a little bit of a lawyer snob. I had had all this education. I thought, oh, I can't learn anything from you. Not. And so at 3 years after her third intake, I joined. I just learned so much about communication. I learned about negotiation because I did a lot of that, and actually how to be a good listener. I thought I was a really good listener. I was a horrible listener because I was always thinking about what I was going to say to prove
right?
myself right to other people. That doesn't work,
Yeah,
especially if you're a
because you're not
negotiator.
listening. You're not listening, right?
No,
Everybody
I
got the
wasn't.
pizza.
I was really all puffed up and I was like, oh my God, I have so much to learn. And then I
Ah,
took another one of my friends was offering a diploma in transformational holistic counseling. And I
okay.
thought, you know what? That's going to be a really great tool to even broaden that space of what I can hold for people. And so even though I can't use that counseling in the US because I got it from Australia, um, it's a great tool to have as well. So I got those tools, and then I got a little bit tired of practicing law. I'd done it for many years. I'm obviously a grandma. I have my gray hair to show it. And I just felt like it was time for a change.
Nice. And I would imagine so part you're really focused on helping women and mothers when we talk about that work-life balance. I would imagine even through your own personal experience as a single mother and sort of figuring out life and managing your own businesses that you offer that perspective. How does that help you in your work with women?
Well, some women, they're just really, really stressed out and want work-life balance, and their partners, they have dogs instead of kids, which can be like your kids as well. So I
Yes.
don't really say I'm not going to work with certain people, but if they come to me, it feels like if there's no way, only way people come to us, it feels like there's got to be some sort of affinity that
Right.
draws people in. And so I'm sorry, what was your question again? I lost the question when I was
No, it was more around how your personal experiences inform your work with the clients that you work with, the mothers.
Yeah, well, it I think that's what helps me hold that really loving space for them because I get how
Mm.
hard it is. I mean, the first 3 years of my son's life, I didn't work full time the first year. It was impossible. And, I sort of eased into full-time work, but it's like you're doing it all by the seat of your pants. I could read a book and it would tell me to do one thing and I would try it on him and it wouldn't work. I'm like, oh, that doesn't work. So what I can bring is this compassion and understanding. I might not have all the answers, but a lot of the things you're going through, at least on a feeling emotional level, I have the experience.
Mm.
So, I can be there for you. I can listen and help you find the answers for yourself. It feels like a really deep, heartfelt connection because of my life experience.
Mhm, mhm. I would imagine grace is something that's very important to exercise, particularly on ourselves, right? Given that I don't know a parent that hasn't made a mistake. I don't think there's a blueprint that has how you do it perfectly or right and you're good. I think it's a process you learn, even between like one child to the next. I think you're learning and how to do things differently and how to become a quote unquote better parent, if you will. But in that process, I think we're bound to make some mistakes. I think that's a fair.
Lots of them. I don't know
Yeah,
about you, but
yeah,
I have made a lot of mistakes as a parent. And it just feels like my son, now that he's a dad of his own, the past couple of years, he really appreciates me and went, oh my God,
yeah,
mom,
yeah,
because he just never quite got it before. But when you're in those shoes and you're doing the best you can in the
yeah,
circumstances and it doesn't always work out, you have more of an understanding. But yeah, I know I made a lot of mistakes as a parent. You
yeah.
know, I think it's very easy to do that. We're trying, but stuff happens.
And even to be able to articulate, yeah, I messed up. That speaks to, I think, even just your ability to forgive yourself for the mistakes that you made, right? And lessons that you
Yeah.
had to learn at your children's expense sometimes, right? So I think it's important
Yeah.
that we acknowledge that.
Yeah, and how can we really learn and grow if we don't? And I've had some mentors along the way because there really wasn't this kind of coaching when I was younger.
Right.
And they've said to me like certain things where, because my son, I was like so overprotective, I didn't want him to fail. And they sort of pointed out, Arlene, this is really arrogant of you. The only way he's going to grow and develop into the man you want him to be is if you give him the opportunity to fall flat on his face. You
Yeah.
cannot always be picking him up. And I was like, oh my God. That was a really big, and then I had to actually stand back and drop my attachment and let him have those experiences. And that was a huge learning in my life. And I am so grateful for it. But I really needed someone to point that out to me. And there weren't like the kind of work-life balance coaches back then. And I had a mentor that was helping me. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's one experience that I will never forget.
Mm. Well, how so? Why is that so impactful for you?
Well, because, I didn't really see how I was hindering, his growth, his
Mm.
progress, his ability to take care of himself as an adult. And, I thought I was being a great mom by protecting him from some of the things that I had experienced that I didn't want him to experience. But we need to fall down sometimes flat on our face and pick ourselves up in order to be able to take care of ourselves and to grow and evolve, when we're not under the umbrella of mom and dad.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's doing a huge service oftentimes for our children.
And interesting because yeah, in that moment, we're doing it for them, like in their best interest, right? We're trying to be that parent to help, to guide, to protect, to keep safe, and not hindering them. Hindering them is the last thing that any parent is trying to do, right?
Yeah. And the really cool thing was what I found out personally. I mean, this is just was a big learning for me. And everyone has their own learning as a parent, is that I was such a better parent because I was so stressed out to make sure that everything was quote perfect, which of course is not possible. That when I let that go and I let some things happen and he had got to have that feeling and experience and I did too, it eventually helped to evolve a relationship into a much more loving and caring and authentic relationship, in the long term.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I love that. I love that because, and especially that long term, it's almost like a long term strategic way of viewing things, right? Like it's like not just here, but for as we move through those phases as a child develops, and we develop as well too as parents,
Yeah.
individuals, but our children see significant growth and development when they become that way, or they move from being from a child to an adult to even parents themselves, and watching that
Yeah.
journey and how you support them along the way. I think it's critical.
Yeah. And so since I've had those experiences,
Hmm.
I'm not going to tell a client you need to do this or that, but by the questions I ask and maybe the things that I can share about what I'm noticing,
Hmm.
they might they have a much more higher likelihood of like noticing what's not going well within themselves and having that kind of aha moment like I did and going, oh my gosh, and then seeing where they want to maybe try something different and see how that goes. And that can be a really empowering experience because they're coming to their own knowing within themselves. They're seeing things in a different light, and that opens up possibilities, and I think it brings in hope as well.
I like that. I like that. I've certainly got to ask it because you now have the perspective as a grandmother, right? So from a mother and grandmother. Sort of talk about what that is like. I mean, moving from a parent, right, and now you're a first time grandmother, and how you manage that or learn through that.
That's a learning experience as well. My the way I handle it right now is that if my son or my stepkids ever ask me, if they come to me and they ask me for advice, I will give it.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I will just love the bejesus out of my grandkids, do fun things with them, adapt and be flexible as they grow older. Because what we did when they were 5, they're not going to want to do when they're 15,
Sure.
and just enjoy not having all that responsibility, and giving them that kind of love and support that I'm able to give that without having to make the day-to-day decisions, and just knowing that if they want or need something, they'll ask me. Otherwise, it's kind of me butting in where I don't belong. Unless I saw something that was, and I have never seen this in my kids and my stepkids, is that they're doing something that's really dangerous, or
Hmm. Hmm.
they're really not seeing what's going on, with their kids. But luckily, I don't have that situation. So that's my personal way of handling it because I've experienced butting in and giving advice where it wasn't asked, and I experienced what that felt like and how it felt for them. I'm like,
Right.
well, that's just not a good look. We're going to step back from that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Take a more a hands-off approach, so to speak. I think is that.
Well, if I had had people stepping in and telling me, if my parents didn't do this to me, telling me what I needed to do as a parent when I was raising my son, I don't think I really would have appreciated it that much
Yeah,
because every child is different.
that's right.
I'm very different than my two brothers, and my son is very different than myself and my siblings. So every child is unique. It can be look really different from the outside than what it's like in the day-to-day living, raising a certain child. And so I feel like I have to love and respect that and enjoy being a grandmother and not having all those responsibilities. We get a lot of good stuff, a lot of good perks in there.
I very, very much appreciate the comment about every child being unique, meaning that, we have to recognize that what worked for one isn't going to be the next same for the other. They have different motivators, different likes, different interests, different approaches, which says to me that parenting needs to be flexible based on, what's happening
Yeah.
with your child. Are there some
Yes.
standard things that you do as a parent? Absolutely, right? Especially when it comes to the values and things that you want to instill, but the road,
Yeah.
the approach and that road that you get there may be slightly different from child to child.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to be flexible and adaptable as a grandparent too, and not take things personally, because a teenager is going to be much more interested in spending time with their friends, perhaps, and it's
Sure.
going to the experience evolves and grows, and we just have to be able to roll with the punches and know that that love is always there,
Mm.
but the form is going to take might be really different as they evolve and grow.
Nice, nice. I want to jump back in your work around work-life balance because there was something I saw that I wanted to ask you about with respects to working from the inside out to sort of achieve, that balance. Could you sort of
Yeah,
elaborate and sort of, further on what
sure.
you mean by that?
Yeah, because there's so many mom hacks and life hacks and work hacks and things that
Yeah.
you can actually use. They're not bad. They
Right.
can show you how to save time, and give you that more time that you need to get things done or what's important to you. Fantastic, but it's not going to change how you feel on the inside. If
Right.
you're overwhelmed and upset and frustrated and frazzled, we need to deal with those feelings inside. Otherwise, it's going to perpetuate. How you feel, how you're experiencing your life is not going to change, which is why I work a lot with like gratitude and turning our inner critic into an inner
Mm.
coach and learning how to drop judgment and things like that because I wasn't taught how to do a lot of that stuff growing up. My parents didn't know how to show me that. They did the best they could.
Sure.
And as a coach, or a mentor, I can help guide people through that. And as we have a different experience within ourselves on the inside, and we're more kind and patient and tolerant with ourselves, and we give ourselves that self-care and self-love that we've been giving to others, then we're going to have the ability to maybe we still have the same challenges, but we're more expanded. We're not all contracted, and we have
Right.
a greater ability to handle them than before.
You mentioned gratitude. I wonder if you sort of speak further on how that sort of fits into this equation of achieving work-life balance.
Well, I guess I have a feeling you know about this because gratitude is just a key to everything. And I guess one of the ways I love to work with gratitude is that I think we make a mistake. I need to wait to be something, to have something to be grateful for. Well, no, just look around you in your life. Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have a comfortable bed? Do you have hot water? Do you have food in your fridge and your pantry? Do you have people that love you? Do
Mm.
you have fun things that you're actually doing already in your life? We have so many things to be grateful for,
Yeah.
and if we really stop and we actually feel that gratitude every day, just even one thing or one maybe moment we had, maybe
Right.
we had a nice little conversation with the lady in the checkout line at the grocery store, or just a moment at work where someone supported us or we supported them. All those moments can be felt in our heart, and we can have gratitude for them. And that helps build that positivity, that helps expand our hearts. It just helps to have a whole different experience of life if we're focusing on, well, this is bad in my life and this is
Right.
horrible and blah 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 blah, and look at my face, it's aging, it doesn't look like it was when it was 20. It's like, really, we're going to focus on that?
Right.
There must be something else we can focus on. All those things that we are taught, how to focus on the negative instead of that light and that love and that all the grace and flow that we already have in our lives. It's just key to everything. And I have a feeling you already know that.
Well, and I do, and it's something I very much I went from thinking about it to trying it to actually doing it on a regular basis. And then what happens is, and how people do it differently. Some do gratitude lists, and they're very 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 practical about it or very deliberate about it. And I've sort of moved away from that, and just what I try to do is as best as possible in the moment. So if I go to the coffee shop and someone smiles at me, and not only am I identifying, I'm actually expressing my appreciation. So, thank you. Like, and actually calling it out in the moment when it happens. Because I think so. I'll even use the smiling thing as an example. There are people who are just naturally doing what they do. Really, they're not thinking about it. It's very effortlessly for them. And so some people are naturally inclined to smile and be pleasant to others. Well, to know that you're naturally doing this and it's making a difference, I think that's important for you to know. So listen, I really much
Yeah.
appreciated you smiling at me. I much appreciated that extra step that you went for. I much appreciated you when I went to the coffee shop and someone gave me an extra chocolate chip cookie. Well, my gosh, thank you so much. It was really, really nice of you to do that. And I think when you there's so many benefits from being able to identify that in the moment, because it makes the other person feel good, but also validates that the approach or the path that they're on is having a positive difference, right? And so as time is, and I've played with the different ways of how to do that, but I really do find that if I'm able to identify in the moment and sincerely and wholeheartedly express how I feel about what this person just did or how they made me feel, then I do that, because I do believe it makes a difference on both sides, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess the way I apply it in coaching is I find that a lot of women don't acknowledge themselves. And I make a point of
Mm,
that. I really want to acknowledge you for, your openness and vulnerability and what you're choosing to step into. And I want to acknowledge you for all the things that you're already doing in your life, A, B, C, and D. That's like,
yeah,
wow, that's a lot. And when we bring in that acknowledgement of ourselves, of what we're already doing and bringing into our life, and we really take that in, a lot of people don't even do that for themselves. They just finish one thing and jump from the next to the
right,
next to the next.
right,
And so as a coach and a mentor, when I really that's one of the things I really love to do, because oftentimes people are like, wow, thank you. And you can feel that they are something's changing, evolving, and growing, and they're all of a sudden they're a little bit different inside. They're lighter, they're clearer,
yes,
they're brighter, because it's like, wow, they didn't even stop to give that to themselves. And
right,
so, as a coach and as a mentor, I can model that for the people that I work with or on a podcast. And then people can try that on themselves and see how it feels.
yes. Yes, yes, yeah. Well, and especially, and that's a really good point. People that kind of move on one thing to the next to the next. Like if you've got that busy life where all sorts of things are happening at once, and you haven't built in that opportunity to slow down. Like especially in this online world as an example, or in this virtual world where it's really easy to pack your days with one meeting after the next, with no break in between, to take your breath, to catch to give yourself a moment to compose yourself. I think it's so important. So to be able to do that for others, I think it's just a beautiful thing. I really do.
Yeah. And we've got to schedule things so that we have time for those breaks. And what I used to do when I was younger is that I would ignore that. I would notice that I was beginning to like be less productive, like in
Yeah,
my law firm. And I would just push through stuff and continue to work because I wanted to pick up my son from school or whatever it was. But that really wasn't kind. If our bodies are telling us that we need some food, or we just need, a mind break, we need to
yes,
take some time, even if it's 5 minutes, away from the social media, away from the computer, maybe a breath of fresh air outside, maybe sipping a cup of tea, whatever floats your boat, just to give yourself that break and that kind of moment so that we can go back and do what needs to be done. And I think that's where we get ourselves in trouble, when we just try to push through things,
right.
which is really not kind. It's
No,
really not kind.
yeah, yeah, and kindness to ourselves I think is a starting point for everything,
Right.
right? If we got to be kind and show compassion to ourselves. If not, then we're not helping no one, our children, our friends, our family, our loved ones, nobody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of people that they build up resentment because they're giving, 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 and then they get resentful. Then they judge themselves for being resentful. Then they give and give and give and give too much again. We have to fill up our own cups with love
yeah,
and self-care so we have something to give to others. And simply acknowledging and appreciating ourselves, what we have accomplished, no matter how small, every day. We don't have to wait for those big goals, is a way to fill our cup up with love so we have more to give.
that's right. That's right. I think of the, those instructions that you hear on a plane, right? Like if the oxygen comes down, put it on yourself first before you tend to your child. And for a mother, I totally get it, right? As a mother, you want to tend to your child's needs first, but if you're no good to yourself, then in the long run, you're not helping your children, and that's important too.
Right, right. Or anybody in your life,
Yeah, yeah,
anybody in your life. And it's a lose-lose situation. And when you've experienced that and you experience something new, or you give yourself permission to give this a try and a go, and you realize, oh wow, that's nice. And people are actually going, Mom, you're a lot nicer today, or whatever it is. Um, because people will notice, how you bring yourself to the table,
yeah,
whether you're
yeah.
frustrated or angry, which is really hard to be around, especially for kids and teenagers. We don't have any control really. We're under the auspices and of our parents to take care of us,
That's
and
right.
so yeah, it just helps everybody.
Right. That's why it's so important that we're not beating ourselves up, and that's something that happens a lot, right?
Yeah.
Where even the way we think about ourselves, I think that all of these things matter and it's important. So we have to, see ourselves in a positive light, say good things that about how we speak about ourselves, and when we mess up, we accept, hey, I made a mistake, and you move on. But you beat
Yeah.
yourself up, we've got that sort of inner critic, if you will, inside that tells us all the bad things that we are about ourselves, then it's gonna come out, it's gonna spill out. Versus
Yeah.
if we're uplifting ourselves positively and we're encouraging ourselves and we believe in ourselves, those things shine through as well too, and then they affect how others are impacted because of the way you feel about yourself.
Yeah, and it's a work in progress. If you've had your boat going into the direction of the inner critic, it's going to take some time to turn it around. And
Yeah,
maybe some of the things I do is like, if I tell myself, "You idiot, why did you do that?" I'm like, "Oh, well, that's not like me. That's not who I am. I'll do better next time." Or if I really am in living this, because
yes,
we always teach what we most need to learn. So I'm not a
that's right,
perfect example of
that's right.
anything. We're all works in progress. Like, well done. I'll have more of that. So where there's no expectation of perfection and not making mistakes when I'm talking about this, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to have those voices in our heads that we just need to more and more say no to and have that new experience and not expect perfection because I don't know anyone on the planet that's perfect. I'm certainly not.
And that's not me either. I'm still
No.
there you go. Ah, it's beautiful. Arlene, has been such a delightful conversation, and I so appreciate the insights that you offered and shared. And for listeners that want to connect with you directly or learn more about the work that you do, where can we send them?
Well, you can connect with me at my website, which is Jewel, Jewel, consultancy.com.
Mhm.
I'm all over the internet under Arlene. My middle name is Cohen, Cohen Miller. If you are in, Canada or the US, you can always text me. I do answer my texts. Maybe not immediately, but I do check them out at 720-936-2634, especially if you tell me, hey, I was on the Audacious Living podcast and I want to have a moment with you, especially for my podcast hosts. I really love doing that.
Oh, thank you. And what we'll do, we'll make sure that those details are located in the contact show notes below as well. So thank you. Arlene, this has been great. I really appreciated this time, and congratulations on the great work. Congratulations even finding your own path to be able to get to where you are. And undoubtedly, I'm sure it had lots of challenges, and you weathered the storm and come out on the other side. And not only just come out on the other side, using that to help the clients that you support. So
Well,
congratulations. All the
well,
best.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you. I can
you.
really feel that. Thank you so
Yeah, no,
much.
really, I love I'm a big fan of taking our experiences and turning around and going, here, let me show you what I've done, and let me help guide you on a pathway that is best for you. Not telling them what to
Yeah,
do, right? Guiding them, and that's the role
right.
of a coach. So thank you for that, and thank you for being a guest on the Audacious Living podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Back we are here on the podcast, and in today's conversation, Arlene and I explore the intricacies of achieving work-life balance. One of the main points that resonated with me was her perspective on mistakes. Rather than viewing them as setbacks, she reframes them as stepping stones to personal growth. This mindset shift is powerful. It invites us to embrace our imperfections and learn from our experiences. I particularly loved how Arlene emphasized the importance of self-compassion and the need to acknowledge our achievements, no matter how small they may be. It's a reminder that we should celebrate our progress instead of rushing into the next task on our to-do list. And I'd encourage you to connect with Arlene directly to learn more about her work and how she can support your journey. You can find all her details in the show notes below, but her website is jewelconsultancy.com. Be sure to mention that you heard her on the Audacious Living podcast, and because Arlene is offering a complimentary session to listeners who want to explore her coaching services. Don't miss an opportunity to gain valuable insights and support your own journey towards balance and fulfillment. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning into the Audacious Living podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to like, follow, subscribe, or share this podcast with family and friends if you haven't already done so. Your support helps us grow and reach even more listeners who are eager to live their best audacious lives. So until next time, keep being bold, keep being brave, and keep living audaciously.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.